So, did you just install Windows 11 or buy a computer that already had it installed? If so, today I'm going to show you what you should do after setting up Windows 11. Stay tuned. So, in the coming weeks, lots of people are going to be installing Windows 11 or buying computers that have Windows 11 pre-installed. This is because, unfortunately, on October 14th, Windows 10 loses support. I know I've been working overtime building new systems and upgrading older ones to Windows 11. So, I thought I'd do a video today on what you should do once you install Windows 11. These are just going to be some tips and tricks that I recommend once you have Windows 11 installed. These tips are going to be kind of a wide range of different topics, like we're going to cover privacy, debloating, repairability, and we're going to talk about some UI tweaks too, for those of you that still are kind of used to Windows 10. But first, I got to pay some bills. So, check out today's sponsor. Are you still running Windows 11 unactivated because the license just costs too much? Then you should check out today's sponsor, VIP SCD Key, where you can get a valid Windows 11 license for around $20. Stop dealing with that stupid watermark and actually be able to change your desktop background with a valid license for Windows 11. Just go to the link in the description below and pick up a valid Windows 11 license key. During checkout, use the code CYBERCPU for a 25% discount. Once you have your key, go to your activation settings in Windows 11 and click the link that says Change Product Key. Enter the product key you just purchased and hit Activate. Now you don't have to deal with that stupid watermark. And check out the description for deals on not just Windows, but Office too. Now, on with the video. Now, one of the most popular statements that I hear from customers is that they're afraid to upgrade to Windows 11 because they hear that it's buggy and it crashes all the time. But believe it or not, the most common concern is not the changes to the UI. However, I do hear that sometimes. In reality though, Windows 11 was really bad when it first released. It was a compatibility nightmare. It had constant problems that I had to deal with all the time, to the point to where I hated working on Windows 11. But today, most of those have been ironed out. I mean, it's not as solid as Windows 10, but then again, Windows 10 has been around for a decade. Windows 11 is a 4-year-old operating system. Those 4 years though, it's grown up quite a bit. And it's not the clumsy newborn tripping over itself all the time like it was when it first came out. But there are still improvements that can be made. So let's jump on the system and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we are in Windows 11, and this is a relatively stock install, except for I changed the background right here. But for the most part, this is literally the first thing I do when I set up Windows 11 is right-click on your taskbar, go to taskbar settings, and uncheck all of this garbage right here. I even disable the search box. And if you want, I typically don't do this because I've kind of gotten used to the start menu being in the center, but you can go down to taskbar behaviors and you can change it to the left alignment so you can have your start menu down to the left like you typically do. However, I use an ultra-wide monitor, so I'm kind of used to the start menu being in the center now, so that's typically where I leave it. And you know what? I honestly think it's a better place for the start menu. You may disagree, and if you do, then there you go. You can change it right there. Now, once I do that, I typically go through and start kind of removing some of the applications that I know I'm not going to want. So you click on the start menu and just kind of go to the stuff that you don't want, like TikTok. We can right click and we can hit uninstall. And essentially do this for all the applications that you see on the system that you don't want to have there. Now, this one right here is actually an image of an older install of Windows 11. From what I've noticed recently is Windows 11 doesn't come with as many built-in apps as it used to come with. However, since this one is an image from an older install, it tends to have more stuff on it. And that's why it's taken me a minute to uninstall it. So once you finish doing the stuff for your pinned apps, then you can click on the All button right here and you can go down this list. And some of the apps I removed, like for instance, Copilot, I'll typically remove that. And then I'll go through and I'll remove anything that I think is not going to be something that I'm going to want on the system. You can remove Clipchamp if you want, just like this. Just go ahead and click uninstall. And one note really quick though, is everything that's pinned in the start menu right here isn't actually installed. It's just the link to the installer and it'll install it if you click it. But if you click on the All button, this stuff here is installed. So if it's in your all list right here, then just know that it is installed. But if it's just pinned to the start menu, then it's just a link. Oh, you know what, Outlook? I usually uninstall that one too. So once I do that, then what you can do is go ahead and click on your start button and search for Control Panel. And then once you launch the control panel, go ahead and go to uninstall a program. And then from here, these are the lists of all the programs that you currently have installed on the system. And one that I quite regularly uninstall is OneDrive. But it looks like on this system, I've already uninstalled it. But in order to uninstall it, essentially all you do is you go over to the actual program that you want to uninstall. For this one, we'll just use remote desktop connection as an example, and then click on uninstall right here. And then it'll go through the process of uninstalling that app from the system. And then in this case, it wants me to restart, but obviously I don't want to do that. So we can go ahead and forego that for the moment. And then another thing is typically I like to install a different browser. As you can see down here, I do have Chrome installed on this system. However, if you've just installed Windows, then all you're going to have is Edge. But if you don't want to open Edge in order to install another browser, there's a better way to do it. So go ahead and open the start menu and just type in CMD. And then I would recommend running this as an administrator right here, and then go ahead and hit yes. And then with CMD open, what you're going to want to do is type winget space install. And then depending on which browser you want to install, for this one, I'm going to install Brave because I already have Chrome installed. I would just type in brave.brave and then hit enter, and it'll go ahead and install the Brave browser for me. Now it's going to take a minute to install it, so I'm going to go ahead and skip to the point to where it's already installed. But this is a great way to be able to install browsers without having to open Edge in order to find the installer and download the installer and things of that nature. All you got to do is type in one command and it'll install it for you. So I'm going to let this finish up and I'll skip to when it's done. And here we go. As you can see, the Brave browser has been installed. And you know, if you do want to install Chrome, what you can do is same thing. You just type winget install. And then with Chrome, it's a little bit different. With Brave, you can just type brave.brave in lowercase. But on Chrome, you can't. You have to type in Google with a capital G .chrome with a capital C. And if you don't do the capital G and the capital C, it'll say it can't find it. And then once you hit enter, it'll go ahead and find it. Now, in this case, it was existing. So what it's going to do is it's just going to download the latest and upgrade it. So this is a great way to update your browser too, if for whatever reason you want to do it manually. But Chrome does that automatically anyway, so it really isn't necessary. But once this is finished, you're going to want to change your default browser as well. And to do that, go ahead and click on Start, go to Settings, and then from Settings, you want to go into Apps. And then from apps, you want to go into default apps right here. And then from this list, you want to go down and find the app that you want to change the defaults to. So in this case, it's going to be Brave. We're going to click on that. And all you got to do is, as you can see, Chrome is currently set up as my default. But if I click Set Default here, it'll change my default to Brave. And then Brave will become my default browser. So when it comes to debloating Windows, I typically don't go overboard. Because the problem here is that there are things in Windows that a lot of people would like to disable, but they're necessary for the functions within Windows itself. So I'm typically relatively conservative on this with my own system and on the systems that I build for customers. I typically limit it to third-party programs like Microsoft's pins in the start menu, which technically aren't even installed like I was talking about before, until you click on them, of course. They're just shortcuts, and once you click on them, the shortcuts will install the app. I also regularly disable all the garbage in the taskbar, like search, the widgets, the live view. However, I don't typically move the start menu to the left because I've found that the center position is actually quite convenient on an ultra-wide monitor. But with that said, let's jump back on the system and I'll show you how you can make Windows stop following you around, kind of like a stalker. Let's do it. Okay, so from here we can go ahead and close the control prompt. Now, the first thing that you want to do is when you set up Windows, I would highly recommend setting it up with a local account. And I know it looks like you have to use a Microsoft account, but there are ways to get around that. But we're not going to get into that in this video. Let's just assume you already have Windows installed and you signed in with a Microsoft account during the installation like Windows made you do in the first place. However, for privacy, I would still recommend not using a Microsoft account. So what I would do is go ahead and click Start, click on Settings, and then from within Settings, go ahead and click on Accounts, Then from accounts, you want to go right here to where it says your info and go ahead and click on that. And then right here, it says sign in with a local account instead. And when you click on that, it'll go through the process of switching your regular Windows account to a local account. All you got to do is follow the prompts. So from here, I'll go ahead and hit next. It wants me to enter my PIN. So I go ahead and enter that real quick. And then from here, it'll ask me for a new password. I'm going to skip that right now and go ahead and hit next. And it'll ask you to sign out to finish signing into a local account. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. And then from there, you should be able to sign right back into Windows and then be on a local account. Now, with that said, there's still a bunch of things that you can do in Windows to help your privacy. So let's start out with opening up our services real quick here. And then from services, you're going to want to look for one specific service. It's called Connected User Experience and Telemetry. Go ahead and open that up, stop it, and then set it to disabled, and then hit OK. And that'll disable Microsoft's telemetry service itself. But there's still a little bit more you can do. So we're going to go ahead and close this. We're going to go into settings here. And then from settings, we're going to go into privacy. And then from privacy, we're going to go into diagnostic and feedback. Now, by default, it sends the required diagnostic data as well as the optional diagnostic data. However, there's no reason to give Microsoft anything that you don't have to give them. So you can go ahead and uncheck this. Well, that's really weird. I'm not sure why it won't let me turn it off. I wasn't expecting this. So, you know what we can do is we're going to go ahead and go another route to do this. And that's going to be disabling this entire thing completely. I was going to show you how to do that anyway, but this kind of forced my hand right here, and I'm not sure why. That is really weird, isn't it? Let me know down in the comments below if you've seen this happen before. This is the first time I've ever seen this happen. It may be a bug within my own specific install of Windows, but this might be something new that Microsoft's doing that I'm just unaware of. So what we can do though is to be able to completely disable this is we're going to go ahead and shut this down and we're going to open up our regedit. And then what we can do is we're going to go ahead and go back all the way up to local machine. And then from there we want to go into software. And then from software we want to go down to policies. And then from policies we want to go into Microsoft. Then we go into Windows, and then from Windows, we're going to go into data collection right here. And then from here, we want to go ahead and create a new DWORD 32-bit value, and then go ahead and type in allow telemetry, just like it says on the screen right here. Make sure to capitalize it exactly how I have it right here, and then just verify that it is to 0 right there. And then at that point, you can go ahead and restart Windows, and your telemetry should be disabled. However, this only works on Windows Pro. So if you're using Windows Home, then unfortunately there's not a whole lot you can do on that end. Now, this right here was just the basics when it comes to privacy settings. You can go much further, and I have several videos in which I do go much further. But this is what I would recommend to be the absolute minimum that you should do on a Windows 11 system, if Windows 11 will let you do it. It's really weird that it wouldn't allow me there, but you know, that's like I said, it's the first time I've ever seen that happen. But either way, let's jump back on the system and I'll show you some more settings that everyone should change. Let's do it. Okay, so from here, this one here is a really important one. So go ahead and click on your start button and just type in system, if we can spell it right there, system restore. And then go ahead and click on where it says create a restore point. And when you open this up, hopefully you won't see this, but in a lot of cases you may, is right here where it says System Restore is turned off. So Microsoft has decided to turn off System Restore on new installs of Windows 11. And honestly, I don't know why. However, it doesn't always happen. I've noticed that sometimes it's off and sometimes it's not. So I think it has to do with the size hard drive that you're using. I've installed Windows 11 recently on a lot of newer systems and it seems like it's turned on all the time now. So if it is for you, then that's great. You shouldn't have to move any further. But if it's turned off, I would highly recommend turning it on. And to do that, you just highlight the drive right here, go ahead and hit configure, and then go ahead and hit turn on system protection. And then you want to change this to how much disk space is going to be allocated for your system protection or your system restore. And I would recommend leaving this in between 10 to 15%. So we'll go ahead and put it at 12, right in the middle. And then go ahead and hit OK, and then that should enable System Restore. Now at this point, you could create a System Restore point just by clicking Create right here. Type the name. I'm just going to write in Cyber CPU. Go ahead and hit Create, and that'll create a System Restore point for you. And you can create a point manually anytime you want just by going into this little window right here. And if you ever want to use System Restore, you can go into the same window and push this button right here that says System Restore, then hit Next, and it'll show you all the different restore points that you have. Now keep in mind that these restore points will fall off once you hit the 10 to 15% or whatever you set it at. So if you want to keep a lot more system restore points, then you might want to pull that slider up a little bit more. But just keep in mind that that's disk space that it's using, so you don't want it to chew up all your hard drive space. Okay, so from this point, we can go ahead and close this. And then the next setting I want to show you is these unbelievably annoying notifications that constantly come up on the side right here. I'm going to show you how to get rid of them. So go into Settings, go into System, and then from System, we want to go into Notifications. And now the first thing that I would do is drop this down and uncheck all 4 of these here and turn it off here. And then from this point, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and then click on Additional Settings right here. And when you click there, go ahead and uncheck all this stuff too. And this would also get rid of some of the welcome experience and the suggestions and stuff that come in on your login screen. So this should hopefully leave you alone from all the stupid notifications that Microsoft seems to want to bombard you with. And then finally, the last thing that I want to look at right here is many people are just not convinced that Windows 11 is the right look for them. They just don't like the way that Windows 11 looks. And if that's you, then that's perfectly fine. And to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we'll open up Brave this time. And then from here, we're going to go download an application for free that will allow us to make this computer look just like Windows 10. And that program is going to be a program called Explorer Patcher. So we're going to go ahead and open it up real quick here. Don't you hate it when you're typing and you realize nothing shows up on the screen? Okay, from Explorer Patcher, we're going to go ahead and click right here on this. And what this is this essentially restores the taskbar and start menu and a lot of other features from Windows 10. So to get it, you go ahead and click on Latest right here. And then from Latest, you scroll down and download right here the EP Setup EXE. Now, this right here has been identified on antiviruses for quite some time. Microsoft has been detecting this as a virus, which it actually isn't. In some cases, you may have to allow it to run, and in other cases, you don't. Recently, it seems to be working pretty good, so I don't think that Windows Security is flagging it as a virus anymore, but some other antiviruses may do that. But once you download it, you can go ahead and close this. And then we can go ahead into our downloads folder and go ahead and run Explorer Patcher. Now, all you have to do is run the executable, hit yes, it'll restart Explorer for you. And then once Explorer comes back, it'll look exactly the same as it did before. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it helped you much, did it? Your start menu's the same, your taskbar's the same, and everything's the way that you left it. However, it's not exactly the same. If you go ahead and right click on your taskbar, you'll notice that you have a lot of other options here. And if you click on Properties, this is where you get the Explorer Patcher properties. And from here, you can customize all different kinds of settings within Windows. However, I'm not going to cover all those settings today. I'm just going to go through and do some of the key ones. Like for instance, we're going to set the taskbar to the Windows 10 style taskbar, and make sure you use the one titled Explorer Patcher if you're using Windows 11 24H2 or later, which you should be using. So from there, we're going to go ahead and change that. I'm also going to go into the start menu and change that one to the Windows 10 start menu as well. And then at this point, we're going to click this button here that says Restart File Explorer. It's going to take a second for File Explorer to finish. Once it does, as you can see, we've got the Windows 10 taskbar now, and we even have the Windows 10 start menu, but it's in the middle. It's not on the side like it's supposed to be, but we can fix that. All we got to do is change the position here from center to edge of screen, and that should move the start button over. Once we click Restart Explorer again, it should move it over to the side of the screen like that. You can also change that from within the start menu properties itself, like I showed you earlier. And then another thing too is once you open File Explorer, as you can see, this is still the Windows 11 File Explorer. But if you come down to File Explorer here, you can change this one from the Windows 11 command bar to the Windows 10 ribbon, just like that. We'll go ahead and restart File Explorer again. And then from there, give it a minute and hopefully it'll come back. So here we are, we're back now. If we click on File Explorer, as you'll see, this is now the Windows 10 File Explorer. So if you really hate the UI in Windows 11, well, get rid of it. Install Explorer Patcher and you can look exactly like Windows 10. Now, when it comes to System Restore, quite a while ago, Microsoft started disabling it automatically. However, I don't know for sure if they disable it on all systems. In fact, I'm not sure under what circumstances they disable it. I think it has to do with the size of your primary SSD. If you have a smaller SSD, then they turn it off to save disk space. At least that's kind of my theory. Either way, it's a really good idea to check to make sure that it's turned on, because if you ever need it, it will be too late to turn it on, unfortunately. And when it comes to Explorer Patcher, I've been a longtime fan of this program. Personally, I think it's the best of its category, and it's free. Unfortunately, with free comes a lack of stability sometimes. As of right now, it's running really solid, and I'm actually surprised with its stability. But there has been times in the past that it's been really bad, like extremely unstable. So just keep that in mind. Also, some antiviruses, like I mentioned before, will detect it as malware, but this is a false detection. But with all that said, once you finish these steps, your Windows 11 system should run pretty good. Now, if you want to get a little bit more serious when it comes to privacy, then I would highly recommend checking out this video right here, where I go through all the different options you have in Windows 11 to keep your data private. But as always, you guys have a great day.